Welcome back, everyone. Today we're going to look at a word with roots in mythology and meaningful to science, a daring 15th century voyage, a financial frenzy over flowers, the heartbreaking day the music died, and a song. Alrighty, let's have a look. Hi there, and welcome to This Day in History for February 3rd. February 3rd is the 34th day of the year in the Gregorian calendar, with 331 days remaining to the end of the year, 332 in leap years. Today's word is chimera. Chimera is a noun, initially the name of a hybrid creature in Greek mythology, consisting of a combination of different animals. This mythological chimera was depicted as a fire-breathing lion with a goat's head emerging from its back and a snake for a tail. This chimera was said to have been the offspring of the giant serpentine monster called Typhon and half-woman, half-snake monster called Echidna. They had several other monster offspring notorious in Greek mythology, but today we're talking about chimera. The mythological chimera was a fire-breathing creature that terrorized the people in the region of Lycia until it was slain by the hero Bellerophon. So there's the mythological creature after whom this word is named, a creature composed of parts from various animals. Similarly, chimera can also be a name applied to any mythical or fictional creature composed of parts of different animals or anything composed of disparate parts or perceived as a wild or impossible fantasy. A chimera can refer to a fanciful illusion or an unrealistic dream, something hoped for but unlikely to ever come true. In the scientific context of biology and genetics, a chimera is an organism that contains genetically distinct cells from two different genetic lineages, which may occur naturally or be artificially created. So in terms of these definitions, a few example sentences might be: the discovery of a human chimera, a person carrying two sets of DNA, has challenged previous assumptions in genetics. Some species of coral are natural chimeras, containing distinct genetic material from different parent organisms. Or, she chased the chimera of a perfect career, only to realize that true fulfillment lay elsewhere. The word chimera comes to us through Latin, originally from Greek. First known use is in the 1300s in terms of the mythological creature, and in the 1500s as regards an unattainable illusion or fantasy. Chimera. Today's word chimera was suggested by YouTube viewer Rob KYLD. Thanks, Rob. And if you have a word you'd like us to look at for Word of the Day, drop it in the comments. We'll check it out. And with that, Europeans in the 1400s were interested in exploring other parts of the world to see where they could go or what they could find by oceanic routes. Superintendent of the Royal Warehouse for King John II of Portugal, Bartolomeu Dias set out with 3 ships in probably July or August of 1487 to explore the coast of Africa. They made it all the way to the southern tip and around the Cape of Good Hope and landed in Mossel Bay on February 3, 1488, becoming the first known Europeans to travel so far south. As spring arrives in the northern hemisphere, gardeners awaken along with sprouting vegetation. Whether one is primarily a vegetable gardener or a flower gardener, this is the time of year that awakens that urge to garden. Tulips had been introduced from the Ottoman Empire, and some of them are certainly quite lovely. In combination with the rising wealth and flourishing trade of the Dutch Golden Age, tulips became a hot commodity for speculative trading. Traders, artisans, and even everyday citizens engaged in tulip futures contracts, betting on the continued price increase. Some of the most prized bulbs were reportedly worth as much as a luxurious Amsterdam townhouse. In February of 1637, though, the market collapsed. Prices plummeted, leaving many investors ruined. While the broader economic consequences were limited, the episode became a cautionary tale about speculative bubbles and irrational market behavior. Historians debate the scale of the impact, with some arguing that it was more of a localized market correction than an economic catastrophe. Even so, the phenomenon known as Tulip Mania remains as a cautionary tale about the dangers of unchecked speculation and mass financial hysteria. February 3rd, 1959 is known as the day the music died, when Buddy Holly, Ritchie Valens, and J.P. the Big Bopper Richardson perished in a plane crash near Clear Lake, Iowa, an event that shook the music industry to its core. These artists were three of the era's brightest stars at the time. They'd been on a tour dubbed the Winter Dance Party, playing dates across the Midwest. Travel accommodations in 1959 were certainly not what they are today, and being winter, the tour bus was cold and beyond uncomfortable. Performers were getting sick with the flu and even frostbite. After their date at Clear Lake, Iowa, Buddy Holly decided to charter a plane to their next visit in Moorhead, Minnesota. Battling flu and exhaustion, they saw this as a chance to get some much-needed rest and avoid the frigid bus rides. Tragically, shortly after takeoff, the plane encountered poor weather conditions and crashed, claiming the lives of all on board, including the pilot, Roger Peterson. This somber day marked a significant loss for the music world, as it was robbed of the immense talent and potential of these pioneering artists. Interestingly, Waylon Jennings was part of Buddy Holly's band at the time and was set to be on that plane as well, but he gave his seat to J.P. Richardson, who was battling the flu. Tommy Alsop lost his seat on the plane to Ritchie Valens in a coin toss not long after takeoff, late at night and in poor weather conditions. Pilot Peterson lost control of the Beechcraft Bonanza, and they crashed in a cornfield about 6 miles from where they took off. All four, the three artists and the pilot, perished in the crash. Things were definitely different in 1959 than they are now. Buddy Holly's bride learned of the tragedy by seeing a news report about it on television, and his mother heard about it on a radio news report. A policy not to report on a person's death until their family had been notified was implemented by authorities in the months after Maria Elena Holly suffered a miscarriage due to the psychological trauma of hearing about her husband's death on television for the first time. This event has been depicted or alluded to in biographical movies, The Buddy Holly Story in 1978 and La Bamba in 1987. Monuments have been built, memorial concerts performed, and songs and fictional works have mentioned this tragic event. Probably one of the best-known songs about that heartbreaking event is the song American Pie by Don McLean. Released in 1971, American Pie quickly became a cultural touchstone. Unusually long for AM radio of the day, at just over 8.5 minutes, it was an ambitious endeavor that paid off. American Pie topped the U.S. charts for 4 weeks in early 1972. Unprecedented for a chart topper at the time, it held the record for the longest number one hit until Taylor Swift's 10-minute version of All Too Well in 2021. American Pie presents a tapestry of American culture and music history. Don McLean drew inspiration from the tragic 1959 plane crash that claimed the lives of Buddy Holly, Ritchie Valens, and J.P. the Big Bopper Richardson, a day he famously referred to as the day the music died, with lyrics weaving a complex narrative reflecting on the loss of innocence and the transformative events of the 1960s. Over the years, fans and scholars have dissected its verses, debating the identities of the jester, the king, and other figures mentioned. While McLean has offered some insights, he usually just says that the song's meanings are open to interpretation, so there you go. American Pie by Don McLean. Link in the description. Alrighty, hope you enjoyed this episode. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep your curiosity alive. See you on the next one. And I think that's going to do it for us today. Thank you so much for watching. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. Feel free to share this video with a link in your email, messaging, or social media. If you enjoy this series, you can check out the playlist that contains these videos. I'll put a link to that in the description. That playlist lives on YouTube, so for other platforms, I'll include a link to my blog page. It's called No Really. You can also find me on Rumble, BitChute, and Odyssey. All those links in that description. Alrighty, that's all I can think of right now. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.